Nancy Elise here at Bowman Library with a whole new middle grade book spotlight. So this week, our theme that we are exploring is all about survival stories. That's right, books that, depending on what the character chooses, may negatively or positively impact the outcome in a crazy situation that some are a little more realistic than others, believe it or not. And so this week we have 6 titles that we're going to talk about that will have you wondering as you read it, A, what is the character going to do to try to get out of this? And B, if I found myself in this situation, what would I do in order to try to survive? So let's take a look and let's get started. And we're going to start with The Big Dark. Now, it is New Year's Eve in rural New Hampshire, and everyone, including Charlie, goes outside into the bitter cold to watch what is known as the Northern Lights, because they're going to be gorgeous. And it is while they are outside, though, that all of a sudden there's this blinding, flashing light, and in an instant, all electronics, everything that is electronic, stops working. It ceases to work and no one knows what is going on. Now, it's the middle of winter, it's in the northeast, it's gonna be cold, and people start doing what they need to in order to stay warm and to help take care of one another in this crazy event. But that quickly changes when there is a particular person who decides they want to take advantage of the situation and they try to take over with force. And people then start to kind of turn on one another, and then it just kind of devolves from there. Now, Charlie's family's in a kind of precarious and difficult situation though, especially since his mother is a diabetic and she needs insulin in order to survive, which requires A, refrigeration, and B, a supply of insulin. And when she starts to run low, Charlie decides that he needs to help his mom. He needs to do something. And that's going to require him to make his way in the dark with all this craziness going on to this pharmacy to get it. But when he gets there, he realizes the pharmacy has been set on fire and burned down to the ground. And now it's going to be up to him to figure out an alternative option. This is filled with action, adventure. There's a little bit of dystopian in there and family. But the survival story, is a little too real sometimes, because you can't help but wonder what would happen if all the electronics just stopped working. What would we do? And you'll find out what Charlie does in The Big Dark. Our next one is Horizon, Survival is No Game. So on their way to an international engineering competition, Javi, Molly, Anna, and Oliver are all on the same team. They're making their way to Japan. It's going to be super exciting. They can't wait. And it's while they are crossing over the Arctic Circle in this remote area that something goes wrong, their plane crashes, and they find themselves surviving with just 4 other young passengers on board, but everyone else has disappeared. Like, not died. They're just gone. And then even stranger, they should be in the Arctic, where it's cold and there's snow. But when they emerge from this wreckage, they find themselves in a rainforest jungle, and they have no idea how they got there. And how is any of this even possible? Well, trying to figure all of this out, they are going to need to figure out not only this mystery, but also how to survive, especially since there are things there that they've never even heard of before. There are killer vines that reach out and try to grab them. There's wildlife that has been mutated, and that is just the beginning. This is the first book in a series. Each book is written by a different author, such as like in the 39 Clues type of style. But if you love your science mixed in with a survival story, you will love and enjoy this series. This is the first book. This is Horizon, Survival is No Game. Apocalypse Bow Wow. So this graphic novel takes a look at survival through a humorous view, through the eyes of our pets. Now, what would happen if all the humans just disappeared one day, leaving it up to our pets to survive on their own? That is where we meet dogs, Brownie and Apollo, and they are a little clueless as to what has happened. Their owner has left for the day, and they're just arguing over who's going to sleep where. And when the owner doesn't come back, though, and they start to get hungry, Brownie and Apollo then venture outside to see what's going on in search of food, and that is when they notice everything has changed, and it's just pets and animals now roaming the streets. They make their way to the local grocery store, and it's there that they start to make friends and allies, and soon there is this rival pack of pets that they decide they want to be in control of the grocery store where Brownie and Apollo and their allies are now hanging out. And it's going to be up to them to work together to stop that from happening. This funny graphic novel takes a unique point of view of a survival story and will let you kind of see things through a different set of eyes. That would be like our cats and dogs and other types of pets. This is Apocalypse Bow Wow. Scar Island. So Jonathan Grisby has been sentenced to 10 weeks at what's called the Slabridge Reformatory School for Troubled Boys, which is on this remote island fortress that's entirely run by troubled boys and overseen. There's this staff there of these crazy characters, and they are led by a man known as the Admiral. Now, Jonathan feels as though he's done, what he's done, he deserves to be there. So he's already made up, he's gonna go to this school for 10 weeks, he's gonna do what he needs to, and he's gonna be able to move on with his life. But when he gets there, the conditions are horrible, the food is minimal, and they are worked to the bone, and it's the Admiral and the other people running the school that just sit there and benefit from it. Things quickly change though when on the second day that Jonathan's there, a freak lightning strike just comes out of nowhere when they're outside all as a group, and it kills all of the adults that are going to be on this island, and soon the boys are left to their own devices. They're on an island. There's no way, there's a boat. They don't even have a boat to get them there. The boat's on the mainland and they're on their home now. Now, things start off great, but quickly one of the boys emerges as the leader. And they start to realize that his rule is not really that different from the previous rule by the Admiral and the adults. And that just leads to some tensions and some plotting. All of that, though, quickly, needs to be put to the side because the boys start to realize that their island is sinking and they are all going to need to come together if they are going to survive this sinking monstrous island. So if you love your survival story with mystery action and some darkness, Scar Island is the one for you. Love this story. Highly recommend it. Scar Island. 96 miles. So brothers John and Stu find themselves left on their own in the Nevada home that they live in with their parents, and when one of the worst blackouts in history happens. Now, while their family has been preparing for this, they're preppers, and they have plenty of supplies on hand, that soon becomes not an option that John and Stu can fall back on, because there are people that come to their house, they rob them at gunpoint, and they take everything. Realizing that the only option for them to survive, especially since they're on their own now with no supplies, they need to go to another ranch. But the closest ranch to them is 96 miles away. So they decide they're going to get there on foot, crossing the Nevada desert. Meeting another set of brothers along the way, they're a group of 4 that soon find themselves having to use every survival skill they know in order to survive this harrowing journey. This book is packed with adventure, action, and lots of survival. You will find yourself wondering, what would you do if you found yourself in this type of situation, which, could possibly happen. You never know. You will not want to put this one down. This is 96 miles. And our last one for this week is a classic. This is Hatchet. So, one of the original adventure stories. Oh, yeah, this one's amazing. We meet 13-year-old Brian, and he finds himself flying into the Canadian wilderness to visit his father in this small 2-passenger plane. Now, Brian's having a hard time. His parents just got divorced. This is the first time he's going to see his dad. So there's a lot of emotion right there to begin with. When the pilot, though, has a heart attack mid-flight, dies, and the plane crashes, he lands in this small lake in the middle of nowhere. He literally has no idea where he is. He knows he was headed to Canada, doesn't even know if he made it there. Brian finds himself alive, by himself, with nothing except the clothes he is wearing and this hatchet, this small axe that his mother gave him as a gift before he got on board this plane. And it's going to be up to him and his choices if he's going to survive in this wilderness against weather, animals, hunger, and more. You will be along for this heart-pounding journey with Brian as he learns to survive on his own in order to ensure that he's going to live. And he's also hoping that someone's gonna know where he can find him or know where he is, but he has no idea if he's ever gonna be found. So this book, highly recommend it. This is the first in a series. There are others that take place after this one. I love this story. This is Hatchet. So these are just 6 of the survival stories that we have here at the library. So I encourage you to come on out. Check out one of these. Or we can help you find another perfect survival story because there are others as well, believe it or not. So I hope you tune back next week when you have a whole new middle grade book spotlight, and I hope you have an amazing week.